Thank you so much, Nato. I think at the end of the day, we must do something with you for slashing our 15 minutes in half. But in any case, I'm really delighted to be here. I'm not a speed reader, but I'm going to do my best. So what I would like to do is I want to offer for consideration one typology of documentary photography and its relationship to violence. This type of photography since the post-war era has self-consciously declared its humanist credential. That is the link the photograph has not merely with its subject, but to an entire apparatus of social perception, of which the central concern is the plight of humanity. The concern with humanity is concrete, especially in the image before us. However, it is the historical condition of such images that is at stake as we move from the manifestation of documentary photography as a machine for exposing violence to the mediation and mediatization of violence and traumatic histories. I will focus basically on this one image. This image was made in periods of extreme political and grave social upheaval in the Sudan in 1993. The photograph has in turn appeared in the work of a noted contemporary artist, Okwui Enwezor, in such a way as to annotate the strategic ways in which images become delinked from their mediatized circumstances and move toward a more mediated and meditative structure of social and ethical reflection. In so doing, the image invites a reflection into what could be characterized as the moral and ethical imagination of art. Yet, despite the doubt that may hover over its image and the indexical aura that emanates from it, I am interested in the way the photograph provides a view into the possibility that contemporary art's response to images of public violence can become critical vehicles for the intersection of the traumatic and the ameliorative in documentary forms. Underlying such images is a key transformation as they shift from what Foucault calls documents into monuments. The shift that marks this transformation exposes how the photographic event of trauma is staged at the nexus of humanistic responsibility and the epistemological goal of elevating the common archive of photographic index into a tool of social memorialization. This is especially the case for recent images such as those depicting the events of September 11, the war in Iraq, Bosnia, Rwanda, Chechnya, and so on. There is an illuminating phrase employed by Michel Foucault to thematize the conditions under which such documents produce historical insight. And here, Okwui Enwezor's work offers an insight into this, and this is what Foucault says: to memorize the monuments of the past, transform them into documents, and lend speech to those traces which in themselves are often not verbal, or which say in silence something other than what they actually say. I present to you an image then taken in Sudan in 1993 by the South African photojournalist Kevin Carter, and later employed by Alfredo in a work titled The Sound of Silence, which is the work you're looking at here. But let's focus for the time being on Carter's photograph. It is a shocking image. The tremor it set off on the first viewing remains palpable, a blunt-edged blow to conscience and the humanitarian conceit. Carter's photograph of an emaciated, exhausted, and naked child crashed on the ground, head bowed like a supplicant in the dusty, rotted landscape of South Sudan is as iconic as it is disturbing. The child is surrounded by an eerie silence. The outlines of a straw bivouac is barely visible in the background. The nakedness of the solitary child is rendered all the more stark by two ornaments attached to her body, and which is sort of the way in which this image sort of emblematizes the condition of photojournalism. The only way I can describe the condition of this image in the instance in which it made its dramatic appearance on the front page of the New York Times is under the auspices of what I will call documentary anomie. It encapsulates and seems to feed an intractable addiction, the fascination with the futile struggle between humanism and documentary photography. The photograph, therefore, serves a function of a double image. It depicts, on the one hand, the actuality of the child's predicament, her utter helplessness, and on the other, the persistent image of Africa in Achille Mbembe's insightful observation, and I quote, as the land of motionless substance and of the blinding and tragic disorder of creation. The very condition under which the child was photographed and her very anonymity may seem to offer a singular, irrefutable claim on humanitarian empathy and a call for action on behalf of the vulnerable and the endangered. And this is what documentary photography has sought to do. So in the morality play in which the kind of documentary heroism that we find in Carter's work was celebrated and participating, humans are always, and I say humans, not only just simply the human beings in the photograph, but humans like Africans are always at risk, and photography is forever there to deliver them, or as it were, to innovate them. It is no ordinary photograph. And my central claim is that, of course, is that humanism at its core assumes a certain relation that bears on the recognition of the other, on the idea that all social existence is bound together by shared and common human values. This, of course, presupposes a relation of coexistence, or what anthropologist Johannes Fabian calls coevalness. I would argue, following this concept, that the idea of humanitarianism in documentary photography is fundamentally based on the principle of coevalness. I would like to sort of to end here in the sense that when we talk about the idea of the public, perhaps it is very important to invite other terms that will allow us to sort of to explore the complexity and the dimension of the public beyond the notion of the public. So terms such as civil society, the body politic, the commonwealth, are terms that I feel are very important to help us generate new questions that can animate the possibility of engaging with what Nato and his colleagues call public practice. Thank you.